Welcome to the 9th episode of Unfortunately, I Read Books. Roald Dahl said, if you're going to get anywhere in life, you have to read a lot of books. In this episode, we start the first part of the series that I'm calling the life-changing books that helped me read 105 books in 2017. And we talk about how the growth mindset book will help you develop into an amazing reader, favor the process and effort to be an amazing reader, and overcoming any labels that hold you back from becoming an amazing reader. So let's get into it. Okay, so Carol Dweck, she's the one who wrote the book Mindset, The Psychology of Success, and she's a professor of psychology at Stanford University, and she developed the implicit theory of intelligence, which is basically the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And to give it little examples, a fixed mindset would be like, I'm too old to read, I don't have time to read, can't concentrate when I read. That's fixed. A growth mindset will reverse that and say, and look for, and will be like, no, I'm not too old to read. I make time to look to read, and build the strength, the capacity to concentrate when you read. So there's 3 takeaways that I got from, and you can also get from the growth mindset book, that will help you become an amazing reader. So the first takeaway is human qualities and traits can be changed and developed over time. And she talks about this story about I'm from Chicago, so Michael Jordan is, and I grew up there in a time where, he was playing on my team and I was like 8 years old. It was great. So she talks about Michael Jordan, and his sophomore year in high school, he didn't make varsity, so he had to play on junior varsity. So, he could have had a fixed mindset and just said, I'm not good enough to make varsity. I'll just try next year or the next year, and would have never developed to be arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. But he did have a growth mindset, and he got pissed, and he worked really hard to make varsity next year, and then he kept with that growth mindset throughout his career to win 6 championships and achieve greatness in the sport of basketball. Now, another example is me. I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out. I never liked to read books, and I continue not to read books throughout my life because I really thought school is not for me and reading for books is not for me. I'll be fine. I'll manage. But I read this book, and it really opened my eyes to say that I can change these qualities and traits. And then I developed the growth mindset. And then I gained the strength, the capacity, the skills to read 105 books in 1 year, last year. Takeaway number 2 is favoring earned ability versus favoring natural ability. So she talks about growth mindset. People look at the process and effort in success. They don't look at the results of success. So I'll use myself as an example. Don't look at me and say, wow, Alexander the great reader read 105 books in 2017. There's something special about that guy. His parents must have had him reading since he was a baby. It's not true. Don't look at the results, the success. Look at the process. I have episodes about, building your reading muscle, having daily pages and timer goals, reading on your phone during those downtimes instead of watching television or looking at your phone while waiting in line somewhere. So look at the effort I'm putting, the process that I created. Don't look at the 105 books I read, because the process and effort will get you to that success. Takeaway number 3 is labels, both positive and negative, and stereotypes can have a profound impact on your mentality. Now, I'll use myself again as an example. My growth mindset approach for my labels and stereotypes, which are, I was a high school dropout that thought I didn't need an education and I didn't need knowledge and I didn't need to read books. I'll be fine. So that was the label, and it was a negative label. And I had the stereotype of, I grew up in a bad neighborhood around gangs. Gangs don't read books. But I changed that label because it was having a profound impact on my life where I was getting nowhere. And I changed it when a thought and an article that I read, and it was actually Ty Lopez who mentioned it and linked it to an article, and it was CEOs read over 52 books a year. And that something clicked in my brain, and I was like, you know what? If they're reading 52 books, who are these highly effective people who manage hundreds of employees, maybe more, millions and billions of dollars, these very successful high-level people read 52 books a year, let me just try to see if I can read 52 books a year. There's something to this, reading books. Why are they reading so much books? So I created a goals and plans and broke everything down to a daily goal, and I achieved that. I read more than CEOs. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be a CEO if you read 52 books, but you start building the capacity to gain information and then apply it in any aspect of life. It does something to your mind, reading books, and that's why I'm such an advocate of it. I also used to have the label that I don't have time to read books because, it's time consuming to read books. But my mindset changed. So I started to see opportunities to read books. Like, I'm sitting here watching this show with my son that I really don't care about his cartoons, or my daughter. Why don't I just grab my phone and read while I'm just sitting here, Or while I'm sitting in these lines to pay the cable bill, or at the DMV, or at banks, or waiting for my wife or kids who are shopping, instead of walking around wasting time or looking at my phone, I either bring a physical book with me or read off my phone. And that helped me to increase my reading time. So that wraps it up, the 3 takeaways. Hope that I encourage you to read Carol Dweck's Growth Mindset book. You can get it from the library for free, or I recommend purchasing it. Purchase a used copy. Currently, I'm at 15 books as of this recording in my reading challenge. Let me know on social media how you're doing. I have updated this series, the life-changing books that helped me read 105 books in 2017, to a 3-part series now. So this is the first part. Next week will be part 2. And it can go more than that. I just thought of the 3rd book. I'm excited for that episode. See you on the next one. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or the many other platforms that play podcasts, so you don't miss the next episode of the 3-part series, which will be part 2 of the life-changing books that helped me read 105 books in 2017.